Thank you very much indeed, Rebecca, for those very kind words and for the book plug, which incidentally has a great deal in it about soils, written just a few years ago actually, and at the time, as I was on my personal sustainability journey, I kind of came to the conclusion that possibly one of the biggest issues in the world, which was also one of the most neglected, was the question of soil health. You kind of wonder why that is when soil is so fundamentally important for our society, and I guess part of it is to do with the extent to which we can rarely get glimpses of soil damage. You don't often get very compelling pictures of what this looks like or what it means for people. There was, however, one moment 4 years ago this month when Channel 4 did a live broadcast from the International Space Station as it passed over southern Britain, 300 kilometres up, passing over Cornwall, green fields, beautiful sparkling Atlantic Ocean, coming across the south coast, out over the Thames estuary, and this brown fringe lying around the coast of Britain, especially in the River Severn and coming out of the Thames, and the astronaut on board just simply said runoff. What he equally could have said was soil, because this was the end of a very wet winter, when we had unprecedented rainfall. I remember travelling in the southwest of England and seeing swollen rivers that were the colour of soil, and that's because they were full of soil, and it was being transported very quickly into the ocean. And of course the way in which we farm was facilitating this, and I remember seeing plough lines coming down the side of hills, down towards watercourses, very efficiently removing soil from the land and into the sea. Of course, bringing with it a range of environmental problems, not only the loss of soil from farmland, but also pollution of watercourses and also the marine environment. And as we look around the world, we know that soil erosion is not the only problem that we face. We also have the long-term trend of soil organic matter being depleted. This is the material produced by photosynthesis, which is feeding the microorganisms in the ground, enabling plant growth to occur. We've destroyed the organic matter in many soils, and at the same time, through the use of heavy machinery and overgrazing of animals, we've compacted other soils to the point today where about 1/3 of global soils are in some way damaged. That is an incredible statistic when you know that pretty much all of our food is being produced by soil, a small amount coming from the oceans. So this is something, of course, which is of enormous interest to people and a matter really of global security. We hear about food security quite often. We often turn that into a discussion about agricultural technologies, but what we so often ignore is the underpinning health of natural systems that support the human world, and I can't think of a better example of soil. And of course, it's not only for food production, it's for the purity of our water that we rely upon healthy soils, and increasingly we can see how it's helping us to adapt to climate change by mitigating flood events. Healthy soils can do that. And of course, when healthy organic matter levels are in soils, it's holding carbon in the ground and out of the atmosphere. You start putting all these things together and you realise that soil health is of fundamental importance for people's health, wealth and security. It's that simple. And yet we permit soil damage to continue, and we mask the damage by the use of manufactured fertilisers, which help to give the impression of productive and fertile soils, when in fact what we're doing is replacing natural benefits with those manufactured with a very big greenhouse gas footprint, ammonium nitrate obviously leading to nitrous oxide and CO2 emissions into the atmosphere, causing more difficulties when it comes to global climate change. So all this stuff now, we have very good evidence to tell us the scale of the problem. We now need to act to deal with it. So one of the things I would say that we need to do is to start getting out of our silos of activity in terms of how we look at soil health. I'm here today with WWF. Perhaps we're known for our work on charismatic wild creatures and natural habitats. That is indeed our focus, but the reason we're very interested in soil health is because that has a direct bearing on the status of this planet's biological diversity. Because the more we damage soil, the more we have to look for new soil. And that new soil is presently beneath the tropical rainforests, underneath biodiverse grasslands and other ecosystems of conservation concern. We're also concerned that the ongoing climate change will be the source of an increase in the rate of extinctions in the decades ahead. Soil damage is contributing to that and is also a solution to that. And we're also very concerned about the status of aquatic and marine ecosystems, and we know that soil damage is one of the reasons why we're seeing a loss of biodiversity in both freshwater and coastal marine systems. Coral reefs have been in the news a lot lately, being affected by climate change. That's a terrible threat. They're also being impacted by sediments running off from the land, very often linked to unsustainable farming. The Great Barrier Reef is one example of that, where soil damage is leading to damage to the reef. So this is directly linked to what we're trying to do. And I would say if you look around, pretty much every sector has got an issue that links directly to soil health and the need to restore it. So what do we do going forwards? Well, the problem is well understood. Fortunately, so are many of the solutions. I see various friends here today from the organic farming movement. Soil health has, of course, been a uniting factor in what they've been trying to do for many years. Maybe now we start to see more focus on that style of agriculture. When it comes to more industrial forms of farming, we can still see ways in which we can make progress, including through returns to more mixed farming that used to be much more common in this country up until the middle part of the last century. And of course, we need to be bringing all of these things together. I think the remarks earlier about the 25-year plan, very well made. It's a very important, very welcome document. But 25 years is a very long time in politics. And if we are going to have certainty about the follow-through of that very welcome plan, one of the things that WWF we think needs to be done is to pass a new Act of Parliament, which would bring the key objectives of the 25-year plan into legislation, alongside air and water quality, the other pillars of a healthy environment, and alongside the restoration, recovery of biodiversity in this country. And as we approach the exit of the European Union, there's a big question for this country: do we wish to be a world leader on environmental issues? I think we should be, for many, many different reasons. An Act of Parliament that does all of those things with soil at its heart, I think would be the right thing to do, and so do many colleagues across the environment movement. Thank you very much indeed.